any relevant themes while they were watching the film. This is a film that always touches my heart. I cry every time I watch it, and I know how it ends, and I know how it ends, or how the story continues, and it still just touches my heart so deeply to see the compassion with which Kristal takes on all the obstacles in her life and becomes a change agent in making a difference for the lives of her family and the lives of others, the lives of people she doesn't even know. And that's why I wanted to have this panel today and bring up some other amazing change makers here in Jacksonville so that we can have an open conversation about what's going on around here. The first person I'd like to bring to the stage is Kristal Moore. Kristal Moore is the founder of Teal Chick, a grassroots organization dedicated to supporting women with ovarian cancer. Kristal has over 2 decades of volunteering and working with organizations such as Cure Violence, United Way, Young Life, the Boselli Foundation, and Healthy Families, Healthy Start. She currently sits on the board of Mad Dads, the Westside Neighborhood Accountability Board, and the Westside Full Service School Board. Please welcome Kristal Moore. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jason Hardwick. Jason Hardwick serves as Bacillus of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Theta Phi chapter, and was just awarded the State and District Father of the Year by the fraternity. He is also the father of an Omega Lamplighter and serves as the Divisional Director for University of Florida Shands Hospital. He also serves on multiple community boards. Welcome. And last but not least is Dr. Staitisha Claycomb. She serves as the Chief Operating Officer at Operation New Hope with more than 10 years of experience in leading and managing multifaceted organizations focused on women, young adults, and marginalized populations. Dr. Claycomb oversees operations of expanding statewide services in reentry in Jacksonville and beyond, right? Yes, in Jacksonville and beyond. We have an extra mic. I'll take it. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So I tend to notice this film needs a deep breath after people watch it. We can take a collective breath. Dr. Chris Omni told us earlier today we all need to breathe, so we take a deep breath and release. Where should we begin? Geez, where should we begin? The reason that this particular group of people I invited you all here is I think you all are doing this type of work on the ground here in Jacksonville, in a city that should be the greatest city in America, actually, if you ask me. Technically, it's the largest city in America. It's ocean-bound, and it's got a river running through it, and it's got amazing people here. But somehow, we also end up with a tremendous amount of crime and violence in the city. Statistics, Jacksonville crime rate is 3,569 per 100,000 residents, meaning the overall crime in Jacksonville is 65% higher than the Florida crime rate and 52% higher than the rest of the country. Would anyone like to speak to how we end up here?
So, hello everybody. I won't, not necessarily how we end up here, but I think just kind of the cycle of incarceration. So at Operation New Hope, we provide statewide reentry services for anyone who's been impacted by the criminal justice system. So in the work that we do, we see a lot of them on the back end. We do some pre-release work, but mostly post-release work. And what we're finding across the state is the cycle of no housing, substance abuse, and employment. We don't have a lot of people interested in being second chance employers for those who have criminal backgrounds. So that leads to cycles of incarceration because by any means necessary, people try to keep a roof over their head. They have to provide for themselves and their family. Also in the state of Florida, there's a list of top places for returning citizens. So Duval is actually number 2 on the list for returning citizens behind Hillsborough County. So if you have a large population coming back, it's that cycle of incarceration happening all over again.
So I think some of it just it's environmental, I believe. I'm from Jacksonville. I grew up in the projects here. and it's just easy to get in trouble, quite frankly, for me growing up. Fortunately for me, I didn't get in trouble growing up, even though I grew up 45th and Moncrief in the projects. I didn't get in trouble until I got in college. So I think, in my experience, I think we do a lot to shelter children as they're growing up, and we do a lot to try to protect them. But even after, such as myself, I went on to Tallahassee to go to school, we've got to continue to protect them beyond that. Um, because quite frankly, I think there's some assumptions that, okay, you make it to college, like you're all right, you're good to go. But I think there's still a need for mentorship and oversight even beyond, graduating high school. And I think that contributes to that the incarceration rate.
And
So I believe the movie actually said it well. If you saw in that family, it was modeled behavior. So the father was in prison, and then the big older brother, and then the youngest brother. And that's a lot of what's going on. You see families that have multiple people in their family that's been incarcerated. And unfortunately, in certain age, it's glorified. It's glorified as, if I went and I did 6 months, I'm big on the streets now. And there's an entire population that kind of gets thrown away, and that's the high-risk population. Everybody talks about the at-risk, but not the high-risk. So that contributes to me to the returning to jail previous and just over and over again. They don't see it as a problem.
which brings us back to you, Dr. Clegg-Holm. The reentry process, I think it's really important when we're talking about criminality, that we're talking about incarcerating citizens, not criminals. Can you talk about how your organization helps to support reentry and make sure that we are returning citizens to the population and not criminals?
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know about Operation New Hope, this year makes 25 years of incorporation for us. Started out in Jacksonville. We now, in the next 30 days, we'll be opening up our fourth and fifth site in St. Pete and Tampa, as well as we have sites in Orlando, satellite site in St. Augustine, as well as Space Coast, Brevard County. So, over 600,000 people are released between jail and prison in Florida alone, including federal. So there's a lot of people constantly cycling back into the community that we're here to serve. Last year alone, serving over 2,000 pre and post release. And what we found to make reentry successful, and especially for us, our recidivism rate is a third of the state. We sit at about 8.6%, while the state sits at about almost 26%. And we're successful because we understand that you can't just allow people to come home and wrap your arms around them. And the work doesn't start when they get out. So we also have a team of case managers that go into over 30 prisons across the state pre-release. That 3 to 6 months, they're building rapport. They're doing transitional planning with those who are incarcerated. They're talking about highest level of education. They're talking about history of mental health issues, substance abuse. I used to be a superintendent in juvenile detention facilities, and even when you work there, nobody goes in and comes out the exact same. If I can't sit with my back to people, and that's just from working there. So imagine living there full time. You don't come home the exact same way. So we work on that pre-release side so that there's a softer handoff when they get out. Once they get out, we didn't do anything magical. We just realized that it's better to have services under one roof versus that bus pass they get where they have to catch a bus all over the city to piece together a resource. When they come to us, they're getting a therapist, they're getting a job coach, and they're getting a case manager. Someone is walking hand in hand with them, addressing mental health and sobriety issues, blending families back together through family reunification, having employment services, and we do the work to build bridges with employers for second chance. They know when we send people to them, they have a background, they've been vetted, and they have a higher probability of getting that employment We also provide 3 months of transitional house. We all know your home is the biggest bill that you pay for every day. So taking that off the table for 3 months so that they can focus on the employment, focus on their sobriety, focus on reuniting with their children and their families. As was stated in the documentary, incarceration doesn't impact just the individual, it's the whole unit. So Operation New Hope will continue to grow across the state. We believe in being a statewide reentry network because what we do works.
And let's talk about how we stop them from going into the system in the first place. Omega Lamplighters. Can you talk a little bit about that program and how it is supporting youth health?
So Omega Lamplighter. So just kind of first of all, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated was founded in 1911 on the campus of Howard University, and our motto is "Friendship is essential to the soul," but we abide by 4 cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. And we model our mentoring program similar, kind of under those principles. One of the things we do, we try to engage those young men and get them in and create a camaraderie amongst themselves as well as the men of Omega Psi Phi. And we work in, if you're familiar with us, we work in all different fields throughout Jacksonville and throughout the nation or even the world. But we mentor those kids. We teach them resume writing. We do career guidance. We talk to them about how to just be a man, how to conduct themselves in different environments. We take them on college tours. We incorporate in those college tours. We incorporate Black historical sites. We take them to teach them history. Ultimately, our goal is to have those young men go on to college, and some may elect not to, but ideally they would go on to college and become members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, graduate, be productive citizens in their communities. One of the things that I do personally, and I think as we look at our lamplighters across the board, most of them don't have a lot of time to get in trouble because we keep them busy. Today we had a workshop. My son is here actually, and today it was some. I don't know what the subject of the workshop was today, but one of the things my son did, he went to go teach him hopping. We hop or step, and that helps build that desire to be a part of something bigger than you. And we just try to build on that and keep them out of those environments where they may get in trouble. So we even work with the schools, we work with their parents, we teach them about consequences. If you do something right, there's consequences to it, which should be positive, but if you do something that's not right, we hold them accountable to it. And we work into our own program different accountability steps so that they understand that in life as they grow, there's always a consequence to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be positive or negative. So that's kind of, I guess in a nutshell, what we're trying to do to keep those kids on the right track, keep them out of trouble. And we even do one other thing we do. We teach them how to engage with a police officer. We've got law enforcement officers here that are members of Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. We've got our vice bossless works with the state attorney's office. We bring those different organizations in to kind of try to guide the kids on how to navigate those different situations in life. We're going to have those encounters, but how to navigate those encounters where you can come out successful and maybe if something didn't go right, maybe deal with it tomorrow, but not be in a situation where you end up incarcerated because of your behaviors or how you may have engaged with law enforcement.
Thank you for that. And once upon a time, there was this Cure Violence Jacksonville movement, and I was really excited about this because it was the city taking on violence as it would any other sort of epidemic, as if it was a disease, and trying to attack the systematic problems of it as a force, right? And not penalizing, but just recognizing the reality of it and moving forward. But that seems to have gone away. Krista, can you tell us, like, how things are evolving now, where you see the city moving, how do you see things growing and developing since that change has happened?
So it's a lot. Cure Violence, all 3 sites were shut down as of January of this year. And that motto still sticks with the employees that, were involved. It was a passion before any of us went to Cure Violence, and it's a continued passion. I'm not sure if you know, but just a snippet of cure violence, they look at it as a public health model. The key thing is they take people from the community that used to be part of the problem to become part of the solution. And that's violence interrupters and outreach workers. And those violence interrupters, they interrupt retaliations, conflicts. So essentially, to get attention, they stand in front of guns. They go in places that the normal person wouldn't go. 45th, the bottom, Eureka, which is Valencia Way. And they're there in the hours that, if you don't live out there, you're not going out there. And so even though the program has ended, they're still doing the work. They're just not being compensated for it now. And so we are looking to other organizations, Mad Dads, under their family support services. They're actually doing an initiative called Westside Warriors, and they're sponsoring things that we're doing in the community. We still go out and give away clothes, give away household stuff. We still engage the community because we know that it's not gonna go away. And in our defined catchment area on the west side, we were making an impact. So like I said before, the people that are being missed are those high-risk individuals. And those are the individuals that we still target, we still work with, we still send to Operation New Hope. We still have our contacts and resources. And, the little difference we're making now, we're still on the move.
And it kind of shocks me that, a program like that would go away, that you have these challenges. Is it infrastructure? When I read that, all the battles the city's been having about, build a new prison. One of the reasons I grew up in Jacksonville, but I've traveled a lot. I live in New York now. But one of the reasons I felt like I needed to go is they were building that. I remember they were building that prison, and I saw on the riverfront, and I thought, this is what they're building for me. This is what they're building for me here. This is the opportunity that they're creating for me here. I need to go somewhere else. And so as I'm hearing them talking again about putting $1 billion into another prison facility, and I'll put it on my personal belief, I think if you build it, then you got to fill it. And that creates a whole cycle of systematic incarceration that is hyper problematic, my opinion. But you three being on the front lines, what do you think we could do with that money? Well, let's put some positive energy into the air about better options and better opportunities. If they're going to spend the money on something for the citizens of the city of Jacksonville, what should we do with that money?
So I'm not a Jacksonville native, born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and I've been here 6 years. But as a former juvenile detention facility superintendent, just, in reading a lot of the articles about possibly putting in up to $1 billion in the jail, on one end, even incarcerated individuals deserve humane living conditions. So part of the money, I do believe, if it's dilapidated, they don't have the services that's needed, such as mental health, substance abuse. Those are some of the resources, both inside and outside, that needs to come into the community. I've had a loved one incarcerated, and so if you've ever been in a prison, that is a necessity. How much they invest in that, I'm not with the city to have that detailed conversation, but on the humane side, I do understand some investment. But back to the community, again, substance abuse is high rise. We understand the opioid crisis. We understand there's issues with pills. There's, we learn a new term every day at work, a zombie drug now with the whole horse tranquilizer mixed with fentanyl. And so we need more beds for the underinsured or uninsured. A lot of people who are struggling with substance abuse have nowhere to go. They're on the streets. We know the law that passed that goes into effect October 1 for those who are homeless. They can't be in public dwellings. And so where do they go? What about housing for those who are low income? So to me, and when I think about that large amount of money, we need housing, we need employment, we need social workers, we need mental health, we need beds for the under and uninsured for those with substance abuse. So pay our teachers more. I mean, the whole system could be fixed with money of that magnitude.
Yeah, I kind of concur. I think I think yes, the jail should be something humane and not just neglected and left. I think we're going to have individuals in our community and our society that, quite unfortunately, quite frankly, do earn an opportunity to go to the jail or prison. But I think with that large sum of money, I think I can want to advocate for the kids. I think similar to our program, those types of programs that focus on prevention and engaging kids at a young age to kind of keep them more involved in something else rather than having that idle time to get in trouble. I think that would be quite frankly helpful. One of the things, just personally for me, when I left here to go to school at Tallahassee, at Florida A&M University, I had no concept of it. But what I found out, we grew up in the projects, 45th and Moncrief and Gulfbrook. And what I didn't recognize is, although I'd earned the right to be at Florida A&M University, I didn't realize that my parents didn't have the money to physically get me from Jacksonville to Tallahassee. And then when I got there, my mom gave me $125, and that's she's deceased now, but that's the last time in life she gave me money. Not realizing until years later that like what it takes to even get there and stay there. And I think that's an opportunity, just a gap that we can potentially focus on, is just finding those kids that you've earned the right to be there, but maybe you don't have all the resources, helping them, whether it's college, whether it's I don't know, an academy, whatever it is, just making sure that they have the resources. If they've earned their spot to be there, help them with the resources to get there and stay there and finish the course so that they can come back and be a positive contributor to our community and help take our community to the next level. And maybe the need for $1 billion prison diminishes. The other thing is, I think our population has grown significantly. So as our population grows, different needs will grow. But I think just kind of taking some of those resources and focusing on the kids and those kids that are in transition from high school to college or whatever it is that they're going to do next, I think there's an opportunity there.
I concur with both of them, but I also, I'll go back to my high-risk individuals. Uh, we had as young as 12, where mom is thinking you're in the bed asleep and you're on the other side of town, doing a drive-by. So that generation, middle school, everything kind of stops. They don't, you can't go to daycare, the camps are limited, and there are organizations out here that could support those youth, but they don't have the money. So if some of that money, could go to those organizations, of course, all the things that she mentioned, because we know the substance abuse, it's not just adults. You find kids younger and younger. We have connections with some great therapists, and we've had to refer a 13-year-old for being addicted. So I believe, the $1 billion could be ciphered some.
And unfortunately, we have to kind of wrap because we have a big fashion show coming up we got to get ready for. But I just want to get some closing thoughts from you guys. We're here at the Digital Art Fest. This is our Sankofa theme. We go back to the past and bring what's forward. And, this film is digital art. And as visceral as it is, as human as it is filmed digitally, it is brought to you digitally. And so we're using the tools of technology to share stories of this lifetime in our present space. And I'll take this moment to thank the Digital Art Festival, Jason and Monica Marley, the producers of this film, my co-producers and directors, Zara and Lisa, Kristal Bush and her family for sharing their stories, and all the other women in the van. But in this sense of community and us being together and working together, any steps, any thoughts, any actions, action items, anything you want us to take with us in this moment?
One thing I always say, especially in the nonprofit space, it's enough work for everybody. You can't approach this vulnerable population with a their mind type of mentality. We have to be willing to keep their hands stretched out, and share services. And we often say, if you can get services from the Matrix program and Operation New Hope and Salzbacher, then float wherever you need to. And so I think that becomes critical. Again, going back to that number, if I know over 600,000 people are in and out, and we only serve 2,000, everybody can take a piece of this work and continue to break the cycle of incarceration.
I'll kind of piggyback off what the doctor here said. I think we all can do something, right? Whatever that is. And I think the first to do is to make sure we're taking care of our households, make sure that we're doing what we can to keep our own children, our own family members in check, if you will. And I feel like I'm at that place. I've got 2 daughters in college. I got a son who's a rising senior at William Marion Rain Senior High School, and we're going to get him in FAMU, no matter what it takes. But with that, with the blessings that I have to be able to take care of my household, I give a lot to the community. And I think we can't be selfish and just take care of our own, make sure ours is in check, and then we figure out whatever that is, whatever your passion is, whether it's those folks re-entering our community, whether it's the youth, whether it's individuals that are actively involved in crime, whatever it is, we can all do something. And I think that's what we need to do as a community, is everybody pick whatever that niche is and be committed to it and give 110% to it.
I would say everybody likes to talk about all the shootings, the murders, and gun violence has become normal. You don't flinch when you hear gunshots if you're on a certain part of town. You just kind of shake your head when you see the story on the news. But I agree with, my panelists here. You have to start at home, because I'm the mother of 2 young men, and when they were growing up, if I had to take the hinges off the door, I knew where you were and who you were with and what you were doing. So it does take a village. However, it has to start with the adults in that household. You have to hold your children accountable. You have to hold your nieces, your nephews accountable. You can't let, if you see pictures on social media with an AK, that's not okay. It's not cute. It's not, they're trying to get monetized. We're being part of the problem. And I think, just like both of them addressed, everyone can take something. It's going to take this entire community to make a difference and take Jacksonville off these top numbers for murders and not being a good place to travel for the summer. It's going to take every organization, every individual to do something.
I thank you all. I mean, my heart is full. I really appreciate you. I did both, but okay. And I thank all of you, because it's Saturday. You could be anywhere. You could be at the beach. You could be having a great time. It's Florida. I really appreciate you taking the time to come into this space with us and share this story and share these thoughts. And I just want y'all to continue this. As I mentioned before, this film is available online. It's streaming on PBS. You can share it with friends. If you have a group or a community that you think would like to come together and use that as a catalyst for conversation, we are still doing our impact campaign. I'd be happy to talk with you, discuss with you. Cultivated Films is my website. It's my email address. I'm easy to find. I'm not always this busy, but so I'm normally easy to find. But please reach out to me. Please give us a warm round of applause for our panelists today. Thank you all so much.